because there's a lot to say about the show. It's 13 episodes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to talk about. Yes, I too am a fan, but I'm gonna go with the negatives first, just to get them out of the way.
Yeah.
And then a reversal of your take on it. I agree wholeheartedly with the final episode, which I did enjoy. And then something about the last 15 minutes, I couldn't really place it until recently. And then you kind of expanded on my thoughts. But yeah, the idea that they're positioning him as like straight up hero when the rest of the show doesn't support that idea is jarring.
Yes.
And Kingpin just turns into like a raging brute. Like when he rolls up on the bridge with the secret SWAT team open firing on the police officers, I was like, this is a great spot for a final action sequence. Oh my god. They're fighting for like the fate of themselves instead of the city on this bridge, and like that would be so cool. And now they just a truck flips over, they punch each other a couple times. Kingpin is a giant angry baby, so he just charges at him.
I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. Like I was like, oh jeez. Like I actually kind of hated the last 15 minutes.
Me too.
Yeah.
It pissed me off. Like there was so few other things in the show beforehand that pissed me off, so I feel okay saying that I loved it, but I feel the last 15 minutes felt completely foreign. Like somebody else was like, you guys are doing this all wrong. You see, here's what we got to do. We got to have the punch out. We got to have this and that, and like it just felt like such a rush of things that didn't fit.
Yeah, it really didn't. It just came out of left field. Like, here's generic superhero finale that you want.
Yeah.
But I didn't want that for this show.
No.
Like, I like the lower stakes that are presented here. That it's for their own personal battles. That kind of the city's the backdrop. Fisk already has like mostly taking control of the city at this point, and then everything falls apart for him, and I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, because I had heard that the final episode was a letdown from a couple people. And I was like, I'm gonna be one of the people who likes it. No, I'm gonna argue the positives here, and I still will.
Yeah.
But then the 15 minutes at the end, I was just like, oh my god, what happened? It just like nosedived into like mediocrity. It was so weird. The loose ends kind of feel like unintentional loose ends, like, oh, we'll just wrap it up, go like the end of any Transformers movie after the big fight, and they're like, Optimus Prime has this big speech, he looks up, and then the American flag, and then boom, end credits. Like, whoa,
that's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's like, and really I hadn't even thought about him like getting off on the heroics, but you're right, he hears a scream, he kind of smirks, and then he jumps off into the night. Like
that's
what the hell was that?
You sicko.
Yeah. Like, I get it for someone like Dexter, or maybe like Jason Todd, Batman's former Robin. Like, I kind of get stuff like that, but for Daredevil, I guess some background for the comics. Daredevil hasn't always been this darker character. I mean, he's got like a darkness about him, but often he's portrayed as like kind of swashbuckling. Like the current run of comics is phenomenal. It might be a perfect run for a writer. Mark Waid's Daredevil. Everyone pick it up. Yeah, he's not happy-go-lucky. He deals with a lot still. And recently uprooted to San Francisco, like last year or so. I'm wondering if the show will ever take that route. I doubt it, because Daredevil and Hell's Kitchen are pretty synonymous, at least for like 50 years so far.
Yeah.
But I'd be interested in seeing him go to San Francisco in the future. Just like maybe he takes like a trip or something. But back to the show itself. I'm okay with them following more or less Frank Miller's footsteps. I'm someone who doesn't like his handling of tone and having to make everything like grounded and kind of depressing. And he often writes very misogynistic material. Like, I kind of worried about this show at first, like when Karen, he basically made Karen into like this terrible character who just was there to be rescued, and she couldn't do anything right by herself. And I was like, oh, this show, no, everything else was good in the pilot. No, please don't do this. And then she starts fighting back when the cop tries to strangle her in the prison. I was like, oh, okay. Dodged a bullet there. And I did like how she kind of screws stuff up for herself, but it doesn't feel like, oh, this character is terribly written for me. It felt like she was taking matters into her own hands, and when she kills Wesley, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, and she went ham too, like Daredevil style. She was like, I'm gonna put about 10 bullets in you and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, like that was good. I was like, damn, good setup for the finale and everything. I think my favorite part of the show is absolutely Daredevil himself, Matt Murdock, and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin, who is like just so weird. He's making such weird character choices as an actor. Like, he kind of struggles to form whole sentences.
That's a good impression.
Oh, thank you. That was really. I struggled like he did to form a sentence right there as him. Yeah, like it's such a weird take on the character, and I'm glad it's not just generic like evil Kingpin watching over crime on the city. Like I guess in the original Daredevil, kind of like that in the movie, but Michael Clark Duncan was awesome in the role. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, he was like he's another one positive from the movie. Here it's like a whole other beast. And I had heard they retired the character in memory of him, and I guess they did for like a decade. But now it's just a good update. I like the character a lot, and I like his relationship with Vanessa, and I think is a character from the comics.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure, which is odd because I should know these things. I failed. Back to the show, I think it's not without its flaws. I like the stylizedness of it. I think people are referring to it a lot as like dark and gritty, and I don't really see it as gritty. I see it more as like pulpy. Like the violence is very intense at times, but is very exaggerated. Like when he's fighting Nobu, the Red Ninja, and they're just getting torn apart. Like I'm flinching at them. Like oh, there's blood everywhere, like just splattering all over this empty warehouse. They like to fight a lot in empty warehouses in this show. I noticed too.
Yeah,
which is fine.
That's way to go.
Like that stuff was very pulpy. Like you have a ninja fighting like criminals. There's nothing about that will ever be realistic. As much as like someone will want you to believe so, it's just ridiculous. But it's awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if not for the tracking shot in episode 2, I think the fight with Nobu would have been the highlight. You know?
Yeah.
And I guess that's where another disappointment comes from the final fight with Kingpin is that it's not even like an acceptable street brawl. It's literally just people running at each other. A couple times.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
That was really disappointing. I'm not going to get over that anytime soon.
I know. It's like, why you got to end on a note like that? Just this beautiful symphony of just so many things. And then just everybody drops their instruments and just leaves. That's what it felt like for me.
They just didn't know how to end it, I think.
No.
And they didn't even know if they were going to get a season 2 at the time, which is really weird to me. So maybe that's why they felt they needed to just wrap everything up. Like they had a decent story. Or I'll say, I know some people think it's not the most creative thing. I think it's well told at least. And the idea that Kingpin isn't trying to destroy the city, he's trying to save it like through a slash and burn method, and he's trying to like use gentrification to take over the city through his own private corporations and stuff. I'm like, it's basically Ra's al Ghul or something like that. But it's so cool.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. And I very much enjoyed it. The negatives don't even come close to the positives for me. What did you think about Foggy Nelson?
He was very interesting. I mean, honestly, like I enjoy the overall levity that he kind of brought. I mean, he's certainly a sprightly and optimistic dude to kind of offset what's going on with Murdoch. And sometimes it was almost off-putting, just some of the things that he would say or ways that he would come across. But I really enjoyed the sense of camaraderie that he and Murdoch had. And even getting to dip into those flashbacks of who they were when they first met in college and how they kind of struck it off that way. Because it makes his disappointment and his sense of betrayal at discovering who Matt truly is. It certainly makes it that much more powerful, you know? But yeah, like as a whole, I really enjoyed him. He had lots of funny things to say. interesting ways that he kind of related to other characters. And again, I think he did a good job of making the contrast between his worldview and Murdoch's worldview just so much more intense, because he is so convinced that he and Murdoch can take on the world, that they can do things the right way and make things work as they should, and all this stuff. And we see Murdoch working on the outside of that, and that is just such a gut punch to him and rocks everything that he knows to be true. And so I like that contrast. And I couldn't help but think in my mind of like Better Call Saul and Saul Goodman / Jimmy McGill. You haven't seen that show yet, have you?
No, but I think it's long enough that you could talk spoilers. It's I don't mind, and I guess spoilers if you're gonna talk spoilers.
Well, I mean, because basically with Jimmy McGill is Saul Goodman before he's Saul Goodman, and has the belief that he can use the judicial system to do what's good and to like make a name for himself. And then he quickly begins to realize that he's slipping away and just getting kind of crushed under toe and all these things that are going on. So it was kind of interesting to think about that show in contrast to this. They're quite different, Daredevil, Saul Goodman, they're certainly their own kinds of monsters. But yeah, that was just something that was kind of in the back of my head. So what did you think about Foggy?
I didn't like him, but
Really?
you mentioned the contrast thing. I didn't even really notice that. I just thought him as like kind of annoying at first. I like the character of Foggy Nelson. He's just like he is in the comics, so I kind of appreciate that.
Yeah.
Tenacity to stick to the source material without expenditure to the show itself. I didn't know if I believed the actors' lines a lot. I felt they were kind of forced. Towards the end, I started liking them more after the revelation that Matt is Daredevil.
Right.
But maybe I'll like him more on a rewatch. I found him kind of irksome at times. He never ruined anything. Just like I looked at him and I thought, I don't need you here. I mean, like that feels mean, but I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, he's so idealistic too. I think that was
like
kind
that
of
aspect.
Yeah, that was kind of what I noticed was he's just on such a totally different plane. And when we're focusing on what's going on in the city and with Fisk and all this stuff, kind of bringing him into it, was sometimes like, oh, hi, what are you doing here? But yeah, I could see both sides of it. Definitely a very interesting character, an interesting way to portray him, which worked at times, and other times was kind of like, okay. But yeah.
During the summer, I'll give the show a rewatch because I'm gonna need something to hold me off until like Ant-Man and then Civil War. So yeah. I love Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock and Daredevil. I think that guy is insanely good. I've always liked him on Boardwalk Empire. I love him in this show. I think he just brings such range to all the emotions that Murdoch has to go through. And as a born and raised Catholic, oh my God, they just get Catholicism in this show. Like I love little lines like when Rosario Dawson's character Claire, who's supposed to be the night nurse, she's mentioning like all the stuff she's going through, and then she's like, and you're just constantly torturing your body, and he's like, that part's of Catholicism. I'm like, oh my God, this it's so funny to me. Like, maybe just because I don't torture my body or anything like that. I don't want to sound like a masochist. That was weird. But no, I just think that's so funny. Like and what I love about the character of Matt Murdock is like he's a Catholic who dresses as the devil. He's a lawyer who's a vigilante. So he works outside the law, but for the law. And it's like that duality and kind of irony fits perfectly with a lot of religious themes for me, and really drives home the point that this is a man with two totally different lives. And like, unlike someone like Tony Stark or Captain America, who are the characters they are the heroes because of themselves, not because power was bestowed upon them or anything. Matt Murdock and Daredevil are like two separate people. like
Mm-hmm.
or Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Wonder
Yeah.
Woman is the same thing, yada yada. Like I love that. It's a you get a lot of good character growth out of that, and
Totally.
it's fun to watch like unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really cool that they didn't shy away from the religious aspect of who he is, and they drew that in whenever they could. Like there was I really enjoyed the scene where he was talking with Father Lantum, the
Oh, I love
at
those scenes.
yeah, because it really kind of puts into perspective what he is grappling with in choosing to take on this daredevil persona and what that is to him and how it really is a fight and a struggle for him to do this and not feel like he's completely going over the edge. But and I think too it's interesting that like he seems to have in his daredevil persona this thirst for like doling out brutal punishment, but that's not just who he is. Like he has this religious orthodoxy that kind of grounds him in the law and in a sense of desiring to save his city and keeps him from just like killing people because they piss him off, you know? So I think that they kind of the his religion and his core beliefs, what he holds to be true and how he sees things, it informs what he does as Daredevil, and these two sides of himself mutually reinforce one another. And that I really enjoy about his character. And again, reminds me, even though towards the beginning of the show, I was watching with my brother and we were making so many stupid Batman jokes like the entire time, it kind of started reminding me more of Dexter even at times, which again, very, very different characters, different stuff going on. But I couldn't help but sort of think about that, and it made me enjoy his character more than trying to see him as this hero who's crossing quite a few lines. Like you're looking at somebody like Captain America, for example. Like I could see the two of them duking it out over just what Daredevil does, you know. But yeah, so that was handled very well, and Charlie Cox just did a fabulous job on every front and just every action sequence and like conversation. He just brought it, and I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah, I think if Jeff Daniels can win for the newsroom, there's no reason why Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox can't be nominated for Emmys for this show.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
they were outstanding. I want to read a couple tweets from people who also enjoyed the show. Hang on, let me pull them up.
Cool.
All right. At Graham Harwell says Daredevil is a show that manages to make everything work. One of the best things in the MCU. Yeah, I think it is one of the best things, even with my
Definitely
severe disappointments towards the end.
I'm just going to ignore that even happened. I'm not going to acknowledge
need to address it.
Nah.
Real quick before I read the next two. I enjoyed the character of Ben Urich a lot. I was sad to see him go.
Yeah, I know. That was rough. He did a really fantastic job, and I think was a cool piece of the story and a different perspective on the corruption of the city and how he was facing that. So it was cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy that they got Spider-Man back because now they can use the Daily Bugle instead of whatever that they had.
Oh, that would be so great.
And total nerd thing, Ben Urich's nephew becomes one of the Green Goblins down the line. So I was like, oh my god, I don't know if this will ever happen, but I'd be so happy if that's connected somehow. We have no connection to the character beyond that, so I doubt it. That'd be so cool.
I know.
Yeah. At Gene9892, hi Gene, says avocados at law, Nelson and Murdoch. Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, and then at Soren Howe, I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, and I apologize. Says it's a great foundation for the Defenders, though not without flaws. Sorely missing Goddard after episode 2. For those who don't know, Drew Goddard, who had directed and wrote Cabin in the Woods and co-wrote it with Joss Whedon,
Ooh.
Wrote Cloverfield, worked on a lot of Buffy, Angel, Firefly. Guy is brilliant, a brilliant writer, and currently tapped to do Spider-Man, I believe, if the rumors are true. Which, yes, perfect. Yeah, he was originally the showrunner of Daredevil, and then left to work on Sony's Sinister Six project, which tied into the Amazing Spider-Man movies that fell through, thank God. And now he was kind of in creative limbo. And then while he left Daredevil for that, I guess studio gigs pay more money, obviously. The creator of Spartacus, Stephen DeKnight, I believe his name is, came onto the show and was the showrunner for the majority of the season, and that's why we get a lot of the stylized action violence. It's very Spartacus-y. And like the first season of Spartacus has this really great villain. I forget the actor who plays his name, and he kind of has this pathology that I found similar, or not similar, just in the vein of Kingpin, where you really get an understanding of who this character is, and yeah, he's scheming, conniving, and maybe not so good, but you get him. The villain in the first season of Spartacus is way more of a douchebag than Kingpin, but I think Kingpin is more dangerous, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, well, I like him. I'm sad that he's not going to come back for the second season. The second season has a former writer of Buffy and one of the former writers of Sons of Anarchy working together to run the show.
Fancy that.
Yeah, so the one half of me is like, yeah, Buffy, and then I did not like Sons of Anarchy as it continued onward. So then the other half of me is like,
well, I still haven't seen Sons of Anarchy, but it's come to me as highly recommended, and I've got it on my Netflix queue somewhere, but Lord knows when I'll get to it.
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts if you ever get around to it, because it's...
Oh, for sure.
It's an interesting discussion to have about that show.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like... it's sometimes too much.
Okay.
That's a whole other discussion. Back to Daredevil.
Can of worms.
Yeah, huge can of worms. I'm looking forward to season 2. I would like to see Bullseye. He was in the 2003 movie with Ben Affleck as well.
Colin Farrell.
I would love Colin Farrell to come back and reprise his role as the over-the-top goofball that was Bullseye in that movie. I would also like a threatening Bullseye. That would be cool too, with an actor who can give a better performance. Colin Farrell's a great actor, but God knows, I don't know what happened with that movie. He was all over the place.
He is going to be in True Detective, so maybe that's going to ground him a little bit, you know?
Yes.
Maybe.
Also, check out Colin Farrell in Miami Vice, In Bruges. I'll even say SWAT with Samuel L. Jackson. He was pretty good in that.
Oh, gosh.
Do you have any final thoughts you want to wrap up on Daredevil? And then we could do some season 2 predictions and chat some Defenders stuff.
My mind is so refusing to work anymore. But yeah, I really loved the show, and it's made me super excited about / confident in the other Marvel series that are sort of in development. And it's nice to have that foundation because it's so different from, say, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So as far as like other forthcoming TV developments, it's really good to have seen this to kind of gauge just what level of quality we can expect. And the show has proven that it can deliver in a really big way on that front. I mean, I just found myself constantly impressed for the duration, and expecting stupidities that were really just reserved for the last 15 minutes, expecting those things to come sooner, and they didn't, which gives me hope that once the show really gets up and running, it's not going to feel the need to pander to the silly hero tropes, because it's not just a hero story. And as long as it can keep its identity in mind, then I'm completely on board, baby.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they can earn the hero tropes, at least, that would be great,
Totally.
I build up to the fact, okay, this is an easy reference, but I'll make it anyways. The first season of Arrow has Oliver Queen killing people with his bow and arrow. And people are like, this guy is just a murderer. And it kind of felt like the show was unaware of it. And then season 2 comes around and they're like, you know what? He was a murderer. Our bad, guys. And then the question of season 2 is pondering, can Oliver Queen become a hero? She's made mistakes, but is he
Oh.
actually a hero, or is he just a
Hmm.
ruthless vigilante? And season 2 of Arrow's fucking awesome. So maybe
Nice.
Daredevil could go around something like that. Like, he's a little dark now, but maybe we could transition to that swashbuckling type Daredevil somehow and
Maybe.
earn the street brawls, you know? And
Yeah, totally.
get a better choreograph, like,
Yeah.
fight for the finale next time, too.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, that's Daredevil. Definitely worth a
That it
watch.
is.
No, like, insanely worth a watch. There you go. Everyone's been talking about it for a while.
Oh yeah.
I think it's Netflix's most popular show right now. I think,
Wow.
I don't want to say ever, but I know it's a huge hit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much to say about the other Defenders series coming out. I know, AKA Jessica Jones, is on the way this fall. I'm very excited about that. That'll be more of like a spy detective type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be as dark. She's not
Mm-hmm.
an inherently darker character, but then again, neither is Daredevil. So,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, and then along premiering in her show is also Luke Cage, who is going to have his own show next year. And then I believe Daredevil comes back in 2016 also, along with Iron Fist and then the Defender series. I don't know how they're stacking these up, but I'm excited anyways, because that'd be 3 shows in 2016.
Yeah, and there's even been semi-relatedly, because I don't think it's Marvel, there's been talk of an X-Men universe show as well, like live action.
Which I would be so down for.
I know, I feel like that, I mean, the X-Men universe lends itself really well to a show format. So I'm still kind of keeping my ear to the ground on that one too, because Marvel's like, here is our next phase of shows now. So, but I'm just excited. And
yeah, me too. I mean, if Gotham can be a hit on Fox and Fox owns the rights to X-Men, why not just put it on there, you know? I mean, like, that would be so cool. I think Netflix has got a specifically Disney Marvel deal, but I would be content with a Fox X-Men series, and then I can see people like Dazzler, because I love Dazzler.
Ooh, yes.
And, just smaller characters like that don't get their time to shine on screen.
Totally.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's it. There's not really much else to say. We don't really know anything else about the Defenders. David Tennant's going to be a villain. Scott Glenn was a blind ninja that taught Daredevil and fought Daredevil, and he probably has something to do with the Defenders too.
There we go.
Yeah, there'll probably be more ninjas fighting each other. Maybe Daredevil will get a better costume. I don't know. You're probably going to have to stick around to find out. And definitely like and subscribe to this channel so you can hear us talk about it whenever we find out the answers to those questions. Emily, where can the people find you?
So I just changed all my Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook to be M Mighty Sophia. So they're all the exact same thing. It's EM, the word mighty, and Sophia, SOFIA. And my Tumblr is still I Am the Cruel One, but that's because I just like that. So M Mighty Sophia everywhere else.
All right. I am going to have to change all the tags in the previous episode. That's okay.
No, I'm not even going to bother on my channel, man. People are just going to be confused and lost, and it's all on me.
One of them is already M Mighty Sophia, so they could.
Yeah. There we go. Figure it out.
And again, my name is Diego Crespo. You can get me at the Waffle Press, at audienceseverywhere.net, or at We Talk Movies on Twitter, at Diego Waffles. I'm just going to stop there. That's too much. And don't forget to check out my spoiler-free review of Age of Ultron, which should be up a little after this goes up. I don't know. You'll have to see. And lots of spoilery Avengers stuff happening at audienceseverywhere.net. We're having our Avengers giveaway, Marvel movie giveaway. Head over to the website to find out more information on that. We have like over 30 Marvel-related articles that my buddy Richard, Sean, and I, and many other helpful people contributed, and it was exhausting setting it up. So please appreciate it, or I will feel useless to this world. Again, my name is Diego Crespo. My co-host has been M. Mighty Sophia. Thank you for joining me.
But of course.
And we have been Professionally Unprofessional.